I'm getting a really bad like pain in my stomach. Like I feel like something's about to go really wrong. And so we're sitting down for about, I'd say like 5 minutes still. And I'm like, hey man, like what are we doing, bro? Like what's going on? And he's just not saying anything. And so finally he taps his buddy on the shoulder and he's like, there they are. And then I'm like, bro, what's happening? And he's like, you see those two over there? And I'm like, and we look pretty far, like, and it's a couple. He's like, they gotta go, bro. He's like, they're extremely detrimental to our safety and our freedom. And, you know, I'm just not willing to, you know, risk it. Like, they gotta go.
All right. Abraham.
Yes, sir.
Abraham, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm from Jersey City, New Jersey. I was born and raised, born in Christ Hospital, located in Jersey City, and lived in the same house for the entirety of my first 22 years of my life.
Wow. And tell me about your family.
I had an excellent family, stay-at-home mom, dad owned a business and worked for the state. And they did everything in their power to, you know, provide me a more than great childhood. You know, anytime I ever needed anything, they were always there for me. And yeah, I guess I kind of started to take that for granted as it went on, but.
How'd you end up down here?
All right. So, yeah. So my parents find out that, I'm using a substance and my mom Googles it, finds out that it's and,
What age is this?
What was that?
What age were you?
I was 22, 23. And, yeah, so they sit me down and they're like, hey, you know, you got to do something. Like, you're not going to be in our house doing, you know, it's unacceptable. My parents are very old fashioned, no smoking weed, no drinking, you know.
Are you Jewish?
No, I'm Colombian and Egyptian. I'm Christian.
Okay.
As far as religion. So yeah, it was close to Christmas. I agreed to go like after Christmas and New Year's, and I went to a spot in Fort Lauderdale. The first facility was an 80-bed facility in Fort Lauderdale. And I went to that spot, I want to say 6 times back to back. Just never really getting it. You know what I mean? I think I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I was just waiting for the 30 days to be over just so that I can, you know, go back to doing what I was doing. To push forward a little bit, since those facilities had so many people, I got in contact with a lot of people that shared the same problem that I did. And eventually I got tired of going to Florida because it wasn't working and I thought it was maybe the location. So somebody told me about California and I went over to California and not even within my first treatment center did I find out about a get down, I guess you could call it, that involves paying an individual for attending treatment. And that very quickly, how do I word this properly? That very quickly spiraled out of control just because of the amount of funds that were being exchanged in order, you know.
There's a term for this, right?
Yeah, it's called body brokering.
Right.
Yeah. There's a movie out about it actually, called Body Brokers. It's a really great movie and, surprisingly, it's pretty accurate as to like everything, you know,
the rehab scene is not as simple as just sending you to rehab and getting clean.
No more. It's really not a thing anymore. Whether it's a legitimate treatment center that doesn't pay the client and, you know, just does it the way they're supposed to, there's still somebody receiving you know, like a commission check for that person going through. But where it gets really down and dirty is when that person that receives it, the person on the intake call, ends up sharing it with the client. Because you give a drug addict that just finished 30 days of treatment, you know, $6,000, what do you expect them to do? They're going to go right back to using, you know what I mean? And they very well might die because They lost most of their tolerance. They have an unlimited amount of funds to, get high, and they're in a foreign place where, they don't really know the substances. Fast forward a little bit more. I did really, really well with this, I guess you could call it a job. I linked up with an owner, and we got along really well because he was Middle Eastern as well. My father's Egyptian. I speak Arabic, and so does he. So we quickly built a lot of trust, and I could tell that like month after month after month, he was trying to introduce me to more and more and more of the business. And my dad has no idea what's going on. You know what I mean? He just sees the how do I word this? The face that they want to show, you know what I mean? Like, he's spoken to the man before, but he has no idea what the man's doing. And he thinks he's a great guy. So my dad's really happy. The owner's calling him every so often, like, hey, your son's killing it. And meanwhile, it's killing it in a different way. It's not, killing it like being sober. And then, it worked out really well. I ended up buying a vehicle, a nice vehicle too, a BMW. And then I bought myself a Lexus, kind of like I had money floating around that like I really didn't know what to do with. And this was the first time I've ever had it like that.
And this was all through the body brokering.
Right. Yeah. And then I got myself an apartment, a condo in Santa Monica right off the promenade. And this lasted for, I'd say, about 6 to 8 months, mostly sober, smoking weed here and there, and maybe a like couple or something like that. But my life, what I thought was so good was that I knew that if I picked up everything that I built up was going to be, thrown in the garbage. Anyway, moving forward, I start hearing rumors about the owner and the program director that are there, and everyone's got something to say about people that are in this industry. So I took it with a grain of salt, and then I started seeing things firsthand that started to prove some of the facts that were being told to me, and I really didn't want to believe it, but it was so an example, one that really hurt me a lot was there was a client that was 18 years old, and she came from, I want to say, Washington State, with a alcohol and cocaine problem. And she started getting into the whole thing, and one day something went wrong with either the payment or like an argument, and she started screaming in the middle of the office with like the therapists who don't know, and the clinical directors and all that. They don't know a thing about everything that's going on. And he warned her once, warned her twice, and then 2 days later I found out that she was found in her hotel room, which is owned by the same owner of the treatment center. He owns the hotel, with overdose on IV. And this is a 18-year-old girl that's never used a syringe, never used heroin, never mind fentanyl. So that kind of like, that it seemed really, really sketchy. Like, I don't think she would do something like that. You know what I mean? And then a couple more instances like that where like I wasn't very sure, but like, I got really bad feelings. And then the one that topped it off was a client actually got shot in the head. And it's all because this client was sharing in group a lot of details that I guess weren't appropriate in the owner's eyes. And I guess that's how he deals with it. He sat him down a couple times, and then when I found out that happened, that was like, that solidified everything. Like, it's right after 2 days after he like spent a half hour in group talking about it, and he ends up shooting in the head 2 blocks away from the IOP.
Where's this facility located?
In Hollywood.
Okay. That's enough info.
Yeah. It's, yeah. It's yeah. So anyways, I kind of get myself out of it, just for like my own sanity, because I'm starting to feel really bad that, like, you know, I'm making the money on top of, like, and I'm doing it myself as well. Like, I'm putting myself into treatment so that I can be with the people that I'm putting, and like they can trust me. You know, there's a whole bunch of shit going on, and I'm like, you know, I need to like take a step back and like get away from it. So I put myself in Orange County instead of Los Angeles, and I was like, you know, it's slow pace. And I look for the first results on Google, so it'll be organic, you know, like not a body brokering facility. And sure enough, 2 weeks in, I meet somebody from New Jersey, which is where I'm from. And I actually knew him in New Jersey. And he's driving a BMW. And I'm like, hey, man, you know, like, you've been here only like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Like, what's going on? And he's like trying to tell me the whole thing. And I'm like, dude, like, I just finished this like in Los Angeles. And so it kind of died off at that point. A week later, it got brought up again. And he said that like he was going through my Instagram and saw like some of the belongings that I had acquired through it, and was like, yo, you must have been doing, you know, like really well. We're opening 3 spots and we need help filling the beds, because, you know, you don't want a treatment center with 0 beds filled. You're going to be losing an extreme amount of money daily. He's like, I just need help filling the beds temporarily. Me and my buddy, his partner, don't have the capacity to fill up all 3 right off the bat, but eventually we will. And like, you know, you don't have to get involved. And this went on for about 1.5 years. Everything started going back to the way it was before. All the nice things started to come. The girlfriend came. And this individual was kind of different. I feel like he lied so well that he believed it himself. You know what I mean? He's constantly talking about how Jesus is like just blessing him with everything that he's got. And how he's like, if you were to hear when you hear it without knowing the individual, it sounds great. And you're like, wow, this is a person that's like recovered, and, you know, he's doing really well. But when you've spent time and hung out with this individual after he's gotten sober and he's doing the things that he's doing,
Body broker.
well, not only body broker, now we're going to another level. So this is after 1.5 years, the facility can pretty much run on its own, but like now we're a 3-way partner, because we opened up a sober living. And they start to tell me, so like they don't only do that, they are in most control of Anaheim's like network of drugs, and their firearm distribution in Anaheim is like completely controlled by them, because they have some type of connect that is superior to others. So they slowly start to tell me about these things, and I'm like, hey man, you know, like that's not really me. I'm like cool with the other one, because like I can kind of convince myself that like I'm trying to help somebody out, get them off the street, you know what I mean? And like at the end of the day, there are a lot of people out there that have ruined every single family tie, every single friend tie, that, you know, they don't have anything, and they wouldn't survive even if they wanted to be sober without $0 in Orange County or Los Angeles. So there are the few, like 5% of people that like take the money and actually, you know, do what they're supposed to. But yeah, those other activities were completely like out of like I never saw myself doing it. I didn't want anything to do with it. And so yeah, we made that clear. Another year goes by, I still have the same girlfriend, and my girlfriend wants to start doing this thing, and I'm like, hey, you know, this is a really bad idea. Things go on in these places that like I really don't want you to be exposed to, like yeah, so the buddy of mine, the original partner, and her start to like kind of get close. And he invites her and me to go hiking in the Mojave Desert with his, I want to say, fiance and 2 kids. And so we agree, and we're like, yeah, it sounds like a great idea, like sober fun. And we're walking, and a park ranger comes by, and my buddy's like, hey man, hold this book bag, bro. Like, and I'm like, why? He's like, because we got the 2 kids with us, and I have a felony, and I'm not supposed to be carrying like any type of weapon. And I'm like, why did you bring like a weapon to the Mojave Desert? Like, it's not, there's a bobcat or, I don't know. But long story short, we're walking, and I start to see like little blue pills and red pills and orange strips on the floor. And it was, there were 30s, Adderalls, and Suboxones. And come to find out that these 2, the partners, and, behind my back, but using my money, in the share of the company, were having drop-offs in the desert from God knows who, you know what I mean, of thousands of pills, which they would then push on to whoever they wanted to, mainly the clients. And they were all fake pills. The 30s were all pressed. The Adderalls were all pressed, and the Suboxone was Suboxone. And then, so the package exploded apparently, and we're looking everywhere for it. It takes hours. And then we finally find the package, and he's like, hey man, we just got one more thing to take care of. And he's like, I'm going to tell the girls to go take a walk, and we're going to walk to this location. And he has a pin set up on his phone. So yeah, we send the girls off with the kids, and I'm getting a really, really bad feeling. And out of nowhere, our 3rd partner just appears in the desert, just like out of nowhere. And he's like, hey, what's up, guys? And I'm like, bro, like, we've been walking for a while, like hours, like, where did you come from? And he's like, oh, he invited me. And I'm getting a really bad, like, pain in my stomach. Like, I feel like something's about to go really wrong. And so we're sitting down for about, I'd say, like 5 minutes still. And I'm like, hey man, like, what are we doing, bro? Like, what's going on? And he's just not saying anything. And so finally he taps his buddy on the shoulder, and he's like, there they are. And then I'm like, bro, what's happening? And he's like, you see those 2 over there? And I'm like, and we look pretty far, like, and it's a couple. He's like, they gotta go, bro. He's like, they're extremely detrimental to our safety and our freedom, and I'm just not willing to risk it. Like, they gotta go. And I'm like, bro, I'm not doing this. I don't even know them, but I still, like, I refuse to do this. And thinking back on it, after the situation happened, this individual is so determined to do what he does that he's willing to bring his fiance and 5-year-old and 7-year-old kid with him to do these types of activities just for cover. And I asked him, I'm like, why did you bring them? Like, why didn't you just bring guys, like, to go do this? And he was like, because if a park ranger walks by, it looks less suspicious. Yeah, so sure enough, they give me one of the ghost guns that are 3D printed, and I don't know what to do at this point, because I feel like if I don't react in the manner that they want, I'm already in the desert, you know what I mean? It's not going to be another thing to, just leave somebody there. So, he's like, all right, on the count of 3, bro. He's like, I'll take the guy. And then he's like, you and homeboy, the other individual, the third partner, can take the other one. And, yeah, he calls it out. The first one, boom, done. Falls off the cliff, is guaranteed gone. And he's like, go for the second. And the third partner waited, I want to say 7 seconds before letting off a single shot. I think just to see how committed or if I would do it or not. And I let off 3 rounds completely missing the individual. Like I would literally like go like that, like towards the individual and then point away and fire. And like they caught on and, we're walking back and he's like, yo, what happened back there, bro? And I'm like, look, man, I'm not cut out for this. Like this is not my, I wasn't brought up like to do these things. Like, this isn't what I want in my life. And he's like, it's all right, man. We'll teach you, bro. Like, it was just, just little by little. And I'm like, no, dog, like, I don't want to do this at all. He's like, yo, don't worry, bro. I'll teach you tactics and different ways that you can cope with this so that, it won't bother you anymore. And I go back to the house. My girlfriend automatically knows something's wrong. She's like, what's going on? What's going on? I can't say anything. And the owner of one of the places so we owned our own facility, but we would fill those beds up very easily, and then we would work together with other owners to fill their beds in order to keep cash flowing. So one of the owners that we worked with was a priest, and I'm just kind of losing it. Like after a week, like my brain's like not working with me, like the way I watched the person just lose their life and like their body just tip over the rock, like that thing kept replaying in my head like over and over and over and over again, and I couldn't get it out. So I know that if you talk to a priest, it's the safest bet. A police officer can't interrogate them, you know what I mean? And I wouldn't be throwing my friend under the bus. So I speak to the owner and I'm like, hey man, like, can I talk to you about something that like, I don't want like and be insured with anybody else? And I tell him and he's like, nah, man, are you sure? And, he's just, it kills me too, because I know him and he's like with the, I guess, gang affiliation thing, but to a point, you know what I mean? Because he still has a congregation that he leads every Sunday. And, so yeah, he's like balancing this, like tiptoeing this line. And I tell him about it. He tries to make an excuse for him. I'm sure he knows that that man is fully capable of, doing whatever he does. So he pretty much tells me, like, he didn't do anything. Don't worry about it. And 2 days later, I get a phone call, extremely angry phone call from, my buddy, and he's like, hey man, like what the fuck, bro? Like why would you like, snitch me out to anybody? Why would you say that to anybody? Like, this is sensitive information. And long story short, I end up having to leave California with like what I have, because the way he ended the conversation was extremely threatening. And I felt like if I didn't leave the area, I would not be alive very, very soon. So I ended up going to Arizona to who the girlfriend that I was with when it first started is now my ex-girlfriend. I drive to Arizona 4 or 5 hours away to go stay at her house, and I still haven't told her what happened. And, she still knows something's wrong. We ended on good terms, luckily, though, so she let me stay there. And I'm getting like countless amounts of phone calls from this individual. 3 to 4 months go by, and I return to LA, and I'm not gonna lie, not even 36 hours within being back in LA, I'm starting to see same vehicles starting to lap the block, same individuals starting to like go by, just things that we're off. And by the way, my choice is not amphetamine, so it wasn't something that like I was paranoid or anything. It was just like this repetitive thing. And I'm not stupid. I'm very knowledgeable on cars. I'll read the license plate if I start getting sketched to see if it's the same car, lapping the block. And I try to call him and he doesn't answer the phone. And, I try to call him again and again and again and again. And so I leave again to Arizona, return after 4 months again, and same thing happens. And this time I'm like, I can't like keep running. Like I gotta do something. So like I start trying to get involved in a program and like, do what I'm supposed to. And sure enough, even at the meetings, there's cars that would just park in the parking lot and not go inside and just sit there. And like the people looked so sketchy and the car would be full. And so I'll end it here. The way I found out 100% that this was the individual was that I was on, I don't know if it's the green line or which line it is, but it's a very rural stop. It's like so far away from like society, you know what I mean? Where like if anything were to happen, nobody's gonna know. And it was really, really late at night. And the same people were at the train station for over 2 to 3 hours. I was riding the train back and forth because I was homeless and, I didn't want to sleep in the cold. So I would just hop on the train, go one way and then back and then one way and then back. And the same people were just riding over and over and over again and like making gestures and laughing. And they are of Spanish descent. And I don't think they realize that I speak Spanish. But thank God my mother's Colombian, so I do speak Spanish, and I would catch like inappropriate things that they would say that they don't think I understand. And yeah, so after that, I couldn't stay on the train anymore. I felt like it was like seconds before it was going to happen. I go down at the main stop, the last stop, and I go down the stairs, and in the parking lot is unmistakable. He has an S-Class Mercedes-Benz that's two-tone, like the body's one color and then the top is another color. And so it's an unmistakable car. Like, it's him automatically. You see that car coming down the road, it's him. And I see it and it drives off right away, like once he sees me. And I'm like, oh my God. And yeah, so I haven't been able to really do anything other than, just keep my head down. I tried apologizing like over the phone just to satisfy his needs, even though I don't feel like I need to apologize. I don't think he should have put me in a position like that without giving me a heads up first. Yeah, I guess he's in a totally different mindset and world of, whatever's going on than I am. Like, yeah, I thought this was one thing and he's totally like somewhere else, So yeah.
So where do you stay now? You're just running around?
So yeah, unfortunately, that was the last time I went to a treatment center.
How long ago was this?
This was, I want to say, close to about 6 months ago. So it's not too far away. But it's just really unfortunate because the whole time I was marketing, I was still running my insurance as if I were, so it's like I was constantly in treatment. And I've completed countless amounts of treatment. I want to say 50 to 60. And like a lot of them were like real, like, even though they do the shady things that they do, they still want you to be sober in the house. They don't give a fuck what you do when you walk out, but they don't want people overdosing, ambulance, fire department, police showing up. You know what I mean? It's just really bad for how they look. Yeah, so, every time I get like 30, 60, 90 days, and then the second I get out, or most of the time it's the day I get out that I relapse. I'd say about 75 to 80%. And then the other 20% is just, the longest I've ever had was 5 months. And, that was just like, I try to keep myself as busy as possible, go to the gym, go to meetings, like, but eventually I just get bored, like, and I just want more, like, and
you're fentanyl?
Any type of opiate, honestly, not fentanyl preferably. I'm from New Jersey, so we have China white heroin, which is like a small amount of fentanyl mixed with heroin. But out here, I have no choice but fentanyl. You know what I'm saying? If I had the choice, I would definitely go back to doing what I was doing back home. But tar is not an option for me, and yeah.
So coming on YouTube and telling this story,
Yeah,
Doesn't
that's
that put you in danger?
not something I've ever really done. And you know, I'm definitely gonna follow up on the video and you know see what kind of comments come up. But you know, I'm usually very I don't want to say secretive, but very quiet about the circumstances that surround this. Just for the fact that when the way I was raised by my family, since they're both from different countries and born in those other countries, it's very unacceptable to speak about family things outside of the family. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the mob, like what happens in the family stays in the family. Like we'll take care of it. Like nobody needs to know. And that prevented me from like, you know, really sharing a lot of things in treatment for the first 10 to 15 times. And then eventually I started to realize, like my dad told me, he's like, you know, that like say whatever you need to say to like just whatever gets you to stop, just like please. And it kills me because my dad used to hassle me. So I graduated from NYU with a 3.8. My dad used to hassle me about like my efforts on projects, the amount of time that I would study, you know what I mean? Like a proud father. And like, you know, I had a full-time job with AT&T as well. And I'm juggling both those things. And, you know, he's still like on my ass about things like, you know, you could have did this better, could have did that better. And, you know, it just kind of kills me to see that now it's like, you know, just stop using, like, you know, like forget school. Like, I'm supposed to go to, since I graduated with my bachelor's, I was supposed to go to law school at NYU and I got accepted, but I had this whole problem. So I sent them a letter saying I had a medical emergency that I needed to take care of. This was like 2 years ago. And, it's just been, I've never returned. I thank God that, my use started at the end of my senior year because it got very nasty very quickly, and there's no way that I would have graduated had it started any earlier. But yeah, you know, it kills me to see the expectations that my parents had and, you know, what they wanted from me to where they're still like providing so much support, like, you know, talking on the phone, like, you can do it, you can do this, but like, all they want me to do is like just not use, like, you know, just do whatever. Like he's like, I don't care what you do. Like,
Do you feel like that's even an option for you?
you know, it's easy for me to get sober. Like I said, I've done it 50 to 60 times to detox. I can go through it like nothing. It's the longevity that like eventually I just like, I don't know. I crave the mixture of chaos, the feeling, the not caring about anything other than myself, you know, which sounds really nasty hearing it come out of my mouth, but it's the truth. That's what it is. It's, you know, like when I'm doing the other things, like being sober, I have to take care of car payments, car insurance. I'm sending gifts to my mom, gifts to my dad, you know, all these things. And then when I start using, I can just cut myself off and like, you know, I don't have to do anything other than just focus on getting a stack for the day and, you know, staying well. Which is really sad.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
27. Yeah. I mean, sharing the story.
This is the first time I've ever shared this story with anybody.
Might actually help protect you rather than make you more vulnerable.
Right. I really do hope so.
Because a couple hundred people will probably see this video.
Right. Yeah.
That might actually help you stay safe.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even a matter of me. It's to the point where I refuse to put anybody in treatment ever again for, you know, payment. I won't even put them in treatment, like, period. I'll tell them to just go to Google because I can't, like, but,
how many of the treatments are like this, you think?
80% in California right now, 80%.
But it goes on in other states too.
Yeah. Florida is the original state that started it. It just got so out of hand that it became way too obvious, and they decided to move all the top people that had already made their money in Florida and were able to make it over here, came over here and started just popping them up left and right. And, you know, apparently it's not that difficult to open a treatment center. I owned a sober living under my name, and I was running UAs, like charging insurance companies, like it's nothing, and it's really, really simple. And since it's in California, California has a special law that you can run it out of a house. So we were doing it out of an Airbnb. We didn't even rent the house, lease the house, own the house. We were doing it out of Airbnbs. And yeah, just because we didn't have the capital to, you know, provide for the lease or, you know, the credibility in the beginning. And, you know, it's just crazy how lucrative and how easy it is to you know, just fall into the wrong path. You're more than likely to come across the wrong path than the right path in treatment nowadays in California. And it's really sad, because somebody out of the group of 30 or 50 or whatever amount of people knows about it, and they're going to tell you about it, and you're going to be pissed that you're spending your 30 days and he's getting 5,000, 6,000, 8,000, and you're getting nothing. And yeah.
Wow. Abraham, thank you so much for sharing this story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Stay safe.
Yes, sir.
I wish you the best of luck. I'd love to hear that you're in law school one day.
Yes, sir. I really want to finish that, man. I don't want to throw that bachelor's degree away. It's kind of useless right now because, you know, without the law school, it's not.
It's nice to hear your parents are still sticking by you too.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
God bless.